So, cyberspace cadets. It's Irate Prostate here. It's Thursday, and that means it's time for hot takes, looking at shit on Netflix. And I am with my buddy here, Big Fat Brian. Say howdy, bra.
What up, fam?
Cyberspace cadets.
Oh, I better turn the sound off on our
here.
live stream there. It is Thursday. Fuck yeah. Let's do this thing.
That's what I'm saying. We decided to look at an older film, but it was just put on Netflix this last month. It's a movie from 2009 called Pandorum. It was a sci-fi horror thriller that really didn't get the kind of attention, I don't know, that I thought it deserved. What about you, man?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely. The first time I ever even heard about this was actually on Netflix. The first time it was on Netflix when it came out, and that was it. And then it disappeared, and I didn't really get a chance to watch it. And I was like, "Damn, that looked good. Why didn't I watch it?" You know. And all of a sudden, I open up Netflix last week, and I see Pandorum right there, suggested 100%. And I'm like, I gotta call Irate.
Right, right, and literally we were talking about it right before we went live last week, and we said, yeah, we got to do this thing, okay? Because I had been reading, for the past 2 years, it had been popping up on these top 10 lists and shit of stuff, that's like. Unsung masterpieces or masterworks that are, available on streaming, right?
Yeah.
And I have on my Roku, I have it where I can set up and put certain movies. I can talk into the Roku and say, pull up Pandorum, right? And it'll show me that Pandorum is not available anywhere. So I can put it in a save list. So when it does pop up, boom, it'll tell me, when and where. And it got to the point of where, it reached Netflix, and I said, all right, cool, we can do this thing.
Yeah.
And so basically, what we open up with is a little talking about the history of the world, and we reach a point where we finally, find another planet that's capable of holding life. And so the whole movie takes place, we think, on a ship. That was headed out to a planet called Tanis, right?
Yes.
And which they're all in hypersleep, and it was going to take like 130 years to get there. And so there are there were going to be 3-year rotations for crews. To get in, it was three-year rotations of crews.
I thought it was 2-year actually.
It was 2 or something like
that,
right?
I'm pretty sure it's 2-year rotations.
Right, and they were going to rotate like it was an 8 crews. That way, they go into hypersleep, for 6 or 8 years, and then come out, do 2 years, and then you get put back in, cyclically until they get there. While as the rest of the crew, which is like 60,000 people, are still in hypersleep. So we're all in this like kind of a Noah's Ark kind of thing, going to Tanis.
The Elysium.
The Elysium on the yes. USS Elysium, and it takes place through the eyes of this dude named Bauer, and Bauer's wakes up. He's like, what the fuck? It's kind of like, at first when you come out of hypersleep in this thing, you really don't know what's going on. You're disoriented, and it takes a while for your memory. The longer you've been asleep, the longer it takes for your mind to get and brain to get its shit back together, right?
Yeah.
Which gave me a couple of questions later on, but I'll save those. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then. And then a second guy wakes up, and he's an older, higher in command lieutenant that's played by Dennis Quaid. The main actor is Ben Foster, I think, who was in I can't remember. It was one of those Afghanistan movies where I think it was the one where they were a team of 4 SEALs, and all of them got killed except for one. Anyway, but he's a decent actor, man, and Dennis Quaid was kind of like making some kind of comeback during this time, right? And and he's really good in this movie. I thought both of these guys did a good job. And so as soon as they get their shit together, they start talking, and then they mention Pandorum, okay? And so that gives us, an idea of what Pandorum is. It's the title of the movie, and it's going to play throughout the whole film. It's it's deep space. What word? It's I guess a psychosis. It's like a deep space psychosis. Is when you flip out, because think about it. You're in a tin can, floating out in the middle of nowhere. You literally have nothing around you. I mean, it'd be easy to go batshit crazy in space, I think.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, just think about it. The beginning of the movie opens up, and the guy's alone, and he can't remember anything. Right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you know even what is real at that point?
Right. Exactly.
So, now that we have our scenario set down for the intro here, I did want to go back and talk about when they do open up the original capsules. I thought they did a really, really great job on the makeup, because they've got this like face mask on that has all these hoses going to it. And when he pulls it off his face, he's pulling all these hoses out of his throat and shit. And there's like weird pus-looking liquid everywhere, all over his body. And as he pulls his body off of this rack thing that's holding him up, you can see like a thick, what almost looks like a deep diving suit on him, but transparent.
It's almost like a latex was painted onto him.
Well, from my understanding, that was skin.
Maybe a layer of skin that had come off because you had been soaking in some kind of liquid for a couple of years.
Well, yeah. Imagine not moving and sloughing off skin cells ever.
Yeah, exactly.
It
would do that. Very realistic. I agree, man. Keep going.
Yeah, it was amazing, and right in the beginning there, when he pops off, and they foreshadow it, because he pops off the this rack that's holding him up, and he immediately pulls this IV out of his arm, and there's blood and everything, and you see right there on his arm this serial number. And he peels the layer off the skin, and it says, what does it say? It says CTRL, and then 05015, I believe. And, you're trying to figure out what that even means right in the beginning of the movie. So it creates a really great surrounding, a good world building and good environment that makes it feel mysterious and also sort of scary, because everything is done in as you can see in these clips, sort of a darker overlay. Things are shaking, and there's a lot of malfunctions with the ship and everything right when he pops out.
Yeah.
And it really does a beautiful job of making it look like it's supposed to, like the scene is supposed to. Whoever directed this, cheers to them.
What I was going to say is it almost looks like it was written by two people and photographed and directed by two people. That's how well that the characters are defined, right? It's like everything that comes out in Dennis Quaid's character. It's got a different setting. He ends up meeting somebody later on. Pretty much through the movie, though, he is in this small command area, right? And he's trying to guide, Bauer, who is played by Ben Foster, throughout the ship, so he can get him to where they can get to to the bridge and get systems going, because the main route to the bridge was just they weren't able to get the hatch completely open, so he had to sneak in through this other thing, and he ends up falling through this floor and stuff, and it's like, and he ends up in like a far part of the bow of the ship, right? And so he's kind of lost. So they're separated throughout most of the movie, and they're talking through each other through radio, which eventually at some point the radio conks out and neither one of them can speak to each other. And so it sets up this perfect thing. I was like, okay, is this shit really happening, or is this shit not? Is this all just crazy? Is this just craziness, right? Just for the whole movie, because part of my brain is going, okay, is this shit real or is this not real, right? And so we start coming into contact, because the ship is humongous and it had like 60,000 people on it, plus an entire bank of seeds and insects and shit. Just pretty much everything that makes up Earth, right? Everything that we could bring with us, all right, is in this Noah's Ark thing. And so, he runs into he runs into this chick that's just crazy. She's running around with this knife, and with a really nice, like a little harpy knife, man. She's, hot and well proportioned. This German actress named Anja Tata,
Anja
maybe. Very strange. Oh, and the character's name is Gallo, the main character that Dennis Quaid's played, and that's the Italian word for yellow, which kind of plays in down the line. I don't know if you knew that.
Don't you mean that's the character that
so
Cam
Foster's character
Giga
Bauer is trying to sneak through the ship, and then we realize that there's these like things that are on the ship that have gotten in there, and this is like fucking okay. So this movie, man, it makes so many nods to all these different sci-fi movies, and these things look like they're a cross between, they're out of Descent, the beings in the cave in Descent, and The Hills Have Eyes. The original. I'm talking about the original. I was thinking The Hills Have Eyes when I saw these guys show up. There's nods to Aliens, Logan's Run, Planet of the Apes. These are old shit that I'm talking about. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Brian,
can you hear me? Hello?
You there, bud?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Brian?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Well, apparently,
Can you hear me now? Yeah, well, give us a sec here. I don't even know if the live stream can hear me right now, but we are having a bit of technical difficulty, so hopefully we'll be able to get back on track here in a second. Just bear with us.
and for some reason, I can hear. I know. So what I'm being told is that the
Can you hear me now?
exactly what happened. Okay. All right, Brian, I can hear you now. Check it out.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah. All right. So where were you at?
I don't quite remember. Something. Oh man, this threw me for a curveball. So you were talking about the alien species or whatever it is that's on the ship,
Right.
That's attacking people, right?
Yeah. The mutants is the best word I could come up with, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they're mutants. Maybe they're aliens. I don't know, man. Because they look so weird and they look so cool.
Well, okay, so
You know what happened?
Jacob just.
Goat Man arrived and fixed everything.
Yes, he did.
I
That always happens.
Bubba, I'm telling you, man, this is real. Goat Man.
It ain't a stream without Goat Man.
That's right, man. That's right.
Rubbing my buttery nips just for you, Goat.
That's right. Oh, well, that was interesting. Okay, so yeah, we're so the Bauer and this chick, and then we meet Norman Reedus is in it for a little bit, and he's running away from these things, man, so finally, and then we run into this Vietnamese guy. So, and the Vietnamese guy can't speak any English. The chick can't speak any English, so it's like, and I really kind of like that,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. If you're just grabbing the best of the best off of planet Earth before you leave.
Well, see, and that's a nod to another movie that Dennis Quaid is in called Enemy Mine. Have you ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
He and this enemy alien are on this planet together, and they have to learn how to communicate with each other. It's based on like the old, American and Japanese guy trapped on an island, and they've got to survive together, because they're enemies and shit. Anyways, I think that's a nod to this movie, because that's one of Quaid's better films. So, all right.
Well, I really do. In the intro of the movie, you see another vessel, and it's got a name on it that says Cooper, and he's supposed to have, gotten out before everyone. And as they get out of the initial room, and the main character slides down the air vent into the hallway before he meets his first mutant, and you get to see a guy named Cooper hanging upside down. He's been dead for clearly a number of years. The body's all dehydrated and everything.
Desiccated. Yeah, it's desiccated. I know.
Yeah.
And
the mutants pop up and steal the body and eat it.
Yeah. They kind of like, apparently people are like spam to these guys. Which is, hey, evidently, so that tells you that right there that there's something up with the time, that's been going on, because all right, it takes 120 something years for this ship to get to where it's going anyway. So who knows what have they been boarded by, aliens? Is it just in this area, or have they taken over the whole ship? And once again, is all this shit just a hallucination, right? Because that's always in the back of my mind, is this dude just seeing all this shit, and it's going to be one of those, everybody, is are fucking just hallucinations, right? And I love the way that they did that, man. And I love the way that they answer all these questions.
Yeah, they don't leave a ton of open holes in the story.
No, they don't. That's what's so cool.
It's really great because as you're going through this thing, you actually get the semblance that the author wanted you to understand exactly what was going on, which is great because there, sometimes when you leave a movie like this up to just subtlety, and you leave it open ended, then it really comes off as a cheap ploy not to make a good story at all.
Right.
Like, oh, you just couldn't come up with anything because and then obviously there's your higher tier movies where it's supposed to be some sort of mind fuck, but a lot of movies are not quite that good, if you know what I mean. For instance, that movie we watched, The Bad Batch.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh, that was awful.
Yeah, no shit. Well, see, and that's something that we have been seeing, with these newer movies that Netflix has been producing is that they've got an excellent first and second act, and even a decent lead up in the third act to an ending, and it's always the ending is like what?
Yeah.
And with this one is not what, it's like holy fuck, because it was like I was like going okay, I was expecting one thing and I got like 5 things, right?
Yeah.
So all right, let's keep going.
So the main character radios Dennis Quaid. And he starts to get part of his memory back, and he's talking about the shaking on the ship because there's the lights are flickering, power's going on and off, whole ship is shaking, and he's like, oh, that's the reactor.
Yep.
I can fix that. I just have to get to the reactor room. And that's at that point the epic journey begins to make your way across the ship and set up the reactor again so they can figure out what the fuck is going on and have full access to computers and navigation, etc.
Right, right, and so because if it goes down, it's either going to explode or it's just going to be it's going to be a dead battery, and they're going to be forever. Like it's just going to be how do they refer to it in sea terms? You'll just be
dead in the water.
Dead in the water, exactly. Literally dead in space.
Dun-dun-ch.
Dun-dun-ch.
Where's your soundboard when we need it?
Where is that soundboard when we need it? Damn it. So anyway, so all right, what we're so now we've got a mission, and we've get to a point of where the chick reveals that she can speak English, right? The German chick, and she tells them that her job was to watch the seeds, and the insects. I'm sorry, I was just trying to figure out what to call them, and they eat grasshoppers and shit like they used to do, back in the. Didn't John the Baptist eat grasshoppers? I think. You biblical scholars will know that answer, I'm sure, and we'll get an answer on that. Anywho. So we get a respite of a bit, and then of course we find out about the seed bank and that she's got control of all the seeds and stuff, and that and that a large amount of them were destroyed, in space while they were flying. Evidently something hit them because there's something. This bit, that's wrong with the ship. Obviously, some type of catastrophic event has caused the ship to, severely fuck up and malfunction, right? And so, at this point, the main character, Dennis Quaid, finds this guy named Sergeant Gallo. I had the name screwed up. and or corporal. I can't remember. It may be lieutenant. But anyway, so he finds Gallo. He starts talking to him, and he realizes that there's something wrong with Gallo, and that Gallo may be a little cuckoo. And then, during the thing, Gallo starts talking about how Pandorum takes people over, and he was seeing that the people that he was on the bridge, and the other two people he was on the bridge with had control of the ship, and he started seeing that they both had Pandorum, and so while he's telling this story, right, it cuts back to Ben Foster and the girl. They've had to fight their way through these mutant things, and they end up in this hold with this dude who looks like an old guy. He's like an old black guy, and he's obviously a little cuckoo too. But it's like the brain starts wondering, okay, hold on, this shit's not all adding up. This guy's, obviously too old, and did anybody notice that did you notice he didn't have a tattoo? Brian? Anyway, so as all right, so Dennis Quaid is talking to the guy, and hold on 1 second. Yeah, obviously we're having problems again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back. Oh shit, you can't hear me. Brian?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What happened?
I have no fucking idea, man. This is obviously something that is happening with Discord. So anyway, all right, I was at the part where they had met with the black guy. I'd asked you if you noticed that the black guy didn't have a tattoo, okay? And he feeds them some shit.
No, he does have a tattoo. He says, I have a tattoo. It says right here, I'm a chef.
Yeah, but I don't think that was a real tattoo. I think it was a homemade one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Who knows? But they never showed it. Anyway, all right.
That
doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, anyway. So the dude is obviously, he's loopy as fuck, too.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I want to try this.
Well, so he's sitting there, talking to them, and they start to notice that, he's been trapping the mutants or the aliens or whatever in this room, right? And they, one of them touches the wall, and there's like this slime all over the wall, and he offers them food and starts telling them about the history of the ship.
Yeah.
So, he goes over the there was, what was it? There was a king, and he cast out those he didn't like, and then he sent them to live on their own in I think he said the cargo bay.
Yeah.
And they had to scavenge for food and eat each other. And at that point, you see that the French lady you can tell that everything clicks for her.
Right.
And she's like, oh, they're us. They're mutants.
Right. The beings that they've been running from. Right. Because during during the flight, everybody that's hooked up to these tubes and shit, they're also being injected with these what does she call them? I've got the stuff written down that the
She calls them an enzyme to help them evolve.
To adapt, exactly. To help them, become more adaptable to any environment that they encounter, right? And she starts thinking that maybe that these beings started to adapt to the ship itself, right? And if you look at them, they look really weird. And there's some metal even embedded in some of them. And I don't know if that's done through like tribalistic scarring technique or whatever.
Well, they clearly self-mutilate. I mean, look at the leader, because they hunt in packs, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the leader was like had his nose cut off, and he's got this major like gutter down the fucking middle of his head. Cut down to the bone. I mean, so obviously they've got issues with
well, but on top of that, they were stronger, faster beings. The mutation had made it so they could jump really high. They were much quicker than everyone else, and when they were trying to fight them, it was basically hitting them did nothing.
Yeah, no shit. It took like 3 of them. It looked like a murder, like a prison murder, just shivving this motherfucker like 1,000. Like chick, 3 people on that one being, and it finally killed it. And it was like, damn, man, it was crud, and all this is has happened. The food that they eat that this guy gives them knocks them out, and they all wake up hanging upside down. And I think that the deal is that he was going to have them as bait or as some kind of sacrifice to the to the mutants. So so they would let him live, or he's had some kind of arrangement. I never really figured that out because he never really said what the deal was.
Oh no, he was eating the mutants. That's what he was doing.
All right, so he was going to eat them too, because he did say he was going. Yeah, he said he was going to cut a steak out of that chick, and then the whole deal about the nuclear reactor comes up, and the guy he's just like, yeah, I know where the reactor is. I can take you there, and he goes, well, I can fix it. So hey, why don't you let us go and you can lead us on the way to fix the reactor. So he says, hey man, I'll do that.
Well, and the reason he does is because as he's getting ready to carve him up and he stabs the scientist in the stomach, he's talking about survival of the fittest, and the guy's like, you're not going to survive the end of the hour if you don't let us go. And he's like, wait, you wouldn't be lying to me, And he's like, no, you feel that?
Right, and he asked the captain, how long have we got? And the guy goes, about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Right around 45 minutes. And so the guy agrees to take them. And of course, during the course of going to the reactor, they run across one of these little mutant kids. And the Vietnamese guy's like, kill it. And somebody goes, no, it's a kid, it's a baby, the girl, I think. And they're like, no, man, and then it ends up running off anyway, so it doesn't matter. But they should have, whether they should have killed it or not, So, but then the parents of the thing come, and they pretty much rip up the black dude and shit, and so they hightail it, to fix the reactor, and take it from here.
I thought so. I didn't think that they ripped up the black dude. I thought the black dude got stabbed in the eye.
Oh no, you're right, man. Shit. All right, that's because he starts going the other way. Like he breaks off from them when the attack happens, right?
Yes.
And we don't know what's going on, and he ends up at the bridge later. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I get this wrong. It's just there's so much of the story that's just so intense, man. And there's a lot going on, as a friend of mine used to say, man. Shit, it's like crazy. And so while they're rebooting or preventing the meltdown of the nuclear drive, when they crank it on, there's, I guess, this beam. I don't know what that beam really is, man, because that doesn't fit in with the nuclear physics that I understand. So obviously, and it kills a bunch of those the mutants when it does that, and the black guy ends up at where Dennis Quaid is, and the guy they're fighting each other, right? And before the guy gets there, the fight culminates in Gallo trying to stab Dennis Quaid with this hypodermic, right? That's going to make him calm down. It's a sedative, and then finally we realize that Dennis Quaid is Gallo.
Yes.
And he was literally fighting him. So this is right out of Fight Club, right? It's been this whole Fight Club game. He's the one with Pandorum. Okay. So that's one of the things that we realize. Okay, that fucker's got Pandorum. And then there's something else happens in a little bit. But then the black guy comes in, and he lets him in. He says, "Yeah, you're okay." And then he ends up stabbing him in the eye with the thing. And so his
well, as soon as he gets done, having his Pandoric episode where he injects himself with the with some sedative, he starts to get some of his memories back, right. And that's when you realize that he is 20 years older or so, maybe 30 even, and he is the guy that has been essentially playing God in the ship. So he remembers this now, and all of a sudden his personality completely changes, and you can see a big difference in his character from sort of trying to help to, I am God, I do what I want here type of thing immediately.
And I mean, it's great, when he makes the changeover, you're just going, holy shit. Mm-hmm. All of this makes perfect sense, right? And then, so, Brian?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm just making...
I know. A couple of scares this time.
Just making sure. So he, it's clear that he's been doing this, going back into hypersleep and waking up every time somebody from command wakes up, and he's been killing them, right?
Yep.
And it began because he was on the first crew. He was on the first group that got the message from Earth that that they're the last hope of Earth surviving, of humanity surviving, because the planet was either breaking up, whether it was a meteor that hit it or through nuclear war or whatever. You never get that answer, that question answered, because it doesn't matter. What
well,
matters.
Not just that, but they say, literally verbatim, they say it was just gone. There was nothing. You will never know what happened. It's
Right.
gone.
It's
It's
gone.
not on any star map anymore. You can't find it. It's
Right.
completely gone.
And then so Ben Foster and the chick, they end up, the Vietnamese guy decides to save the little kid. He runs back into the kid, right? And he lets the kid live instead of, his first instinct when he saw it was to kill it. And then so he lets it. He gives it like a go. You can go run off, and the kid cuts his throat and kills it. And it's just like, holy shit.
Yep.
The kid's even worse than the fucking parents, man. And so,
Well, but that also brings up another thing, that they're breeding.
right. Well, of course. Yeah, exactly. They've been breeding, obviously. That's what I was thinking, is that, this had been going on quite a while, because there were some that looked smaller than the others. And whether they were male or female, that really didn't matter to me. But it was nice, so you get a little bit of like a little kind of a kung fu. It's not really martial artsy, but it's enough of a really good boss fight between him and the guy. It's really good. I really like that one fight scene. So they make their way back to the bridge where Dennis Quaid is, and you can tell that Ben Foster has put together a lot of the shit in his head too. He's figured some shit out himself, and he tells them to open the doors, and what they mean is open the visor to the bridge, so they can see outside, where they've been, and it looks like it's absolute black, like they're in the middle of nowhere.
Where are the stars?
Right, there are no stars, man. There's nothing, and the guy starts telling the story about, and in one part, Ben Foster has had this weapon, this really weird weapon. I couldn't figure out everything it did, but it looked like it was like some kind of pulse reactor. Yeah.
Pulse gun.
Right, exactly, because it would repel whatever it hit, and if it got to a certain point, it would create a barrier. So that was pretty neat technology, and Ben looks over there, and he sees one of those things had gotten in, and he shoots it, and it wasn't there. Right? So he's got some Pandorum going on too. It's just not as bad as the shit that's going on with Dennis Quaid. And then something like all of a sudden flies in front of the ship, and it's like, holy shit, what? And then the camera backs
like
up.
A manta ray that's got bioluminescence.
Exactly. It was a beautiful, like, stingray, manta ray that's just, flying in front of the thing. And then, like, the camera backs out, and it's like, holy fuck, they're underwater. They've been on that planet. They've been on Tanis the whole time. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So, all right, it's just, it's once again, it's your mind's blown again. It's just, surprise after surprise in a good way, right? And at some point during the fight, this thing gets deflected and starts a crack in the I guess what the viewports of the main windscreen, or the main screen of the bridge. And so it starts cracking, and then of course what's going to happen. And so it turns out that not everybody, that was on the boat had been killed. That there were some people that were still in their, in their chambers, and we find out that the ship had been there for 923 years.
Yep.
900 years. That had been there over almost 1,000 years. And plus I guess that counted the trip out there, because Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's over 900 years. You know,
Yeah, so
they
they
could
had
have
been there for 800 years, essentially.
right, exactly. So they could have had, you know, buildings and, you know, sewage and all that shit, you know, set up by now. But because of Dennis Quaid's character, none of that shit's happened. And I like the way that his name was Gallo, because, you know, it refers to his cowardice.
Yes.
And also in that Italian, there's a group of murder movies called the Gaio movies, right? And that's a type of killer. So it also refers to killers in Italian, in the film genre. I'm not sure exactly how it goes, but it was a clever use of the word again. So, so Ben Foster and the chick, they climb into, you know, one of those stasis capsules, and they get ejected along with everybody else that was still alive in a capsule, right? And and they get ejected, and you know, you see them pop out of the water, and it looked great. That was a nod, I thought, to Planet of the Apes. There was a scene that reminded me of Planet of the Apes, the original with Charlton Heston from way back. It was you know, just
You goddamn dirty apes.
but it, you know, it was really clever. You know, little winks and shit.
Yes.
Throughout the whole thing. I mean, it was, you know, you know, if you didn't know that's what it was from, you wouldn't have recognized it. You know, but it's like my brain automatically, you know, especially the mutants, man, was like a definite Hills Have Eyes, you know, feeling to it. You know, the Wes Craven version, the original.
Well, and when at the end when his pod pops to the surface of the water, that's totally a nod to Planet of the Apes, because part of Elysium is sitting outside of the water, just like the Statue of Liberty's head.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing,
it's exactly the same.
Exactly. And I'm glad you caught it, man, because it was like I was like, you know. Anyway, so. And that's pretty much the end of the film, man. You know, it turns out that, you know, this group of people, and I thought it was a nice little setup for maybe even a follow-up movie about, you know, what would, because, you know, a good movie will leave you, you know, hanging with questions, man, like, holy shit. You know, what's happening? What's going to happen with all these people? What about the damn mutants? You know, inside the thing. You know, those bulkheads are set to where, you know, they can be cut off and still have, you know, air and shit. You know, those things still be able to survive in that ship.
Yeah. What about the what about the 70% of all those species they had down there that were supposed to be Earth species?
Right.
You know?
Somebody's going to have to go back and get that shit if they, you know, if they want to live, you know, or have some of that, you know, at least some hybrids of that.
Or does the ship eject it?
Exactly. We don't know. None of those questions are answered at the end, you know. So, and it's a great setup for possibly another movie. It wouldn't be a direct sequel to this, but it would be a nice, you know, like a good, you know, see how they build society, and you know, and how maybe even Pandorum might work on, you know, on a planet after you've been out in space for 1,000 years. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? You know, but like I said, you know, they didn't explain everything, but they explained it thoroughly enough that you can sort of get an idea of what might happen. The way that the direction they wanted the film to go in, you know.
Yeah.
The other thing that's great about this movie is that while there is a hint of sort of I guess you could call it a love scene that is between the main character and his now deceased wife, they didn't really focus on that too much.
No, it was.
And I loved that. I think it could have been even a better movie if they just left it out and he had just looked at the picture and been like, ah.
Yeah. And
No, she's dead now.
maybe that one memory at the beginning,
Yeah.
that it opens up at where he's coming out and he's starting to wake up,
Yeah.
with that with that nice little dream. But yeah, you're right. There were a couple of questions I had. It's like, well, then how come the people, But I mean, God, really, everything important to me. I think muscle tone. If you were 800 years in hypersleep, I don't think you'd be able to like jump over things he was jumping over and shit. And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure you could do a crunch.
Yeah, well, I mean, the when they opened his pod, his toes were all curled under,
Yeah.
and that gives you the idea that maybe maybe they did have a little bit of muscle degeneration, but it seemed like he got back on his feet pretty quickly.
Very quickly, definitely.
The other thing is, whenever they're feeding them in those tubes, who knows what it could do? Especially this is suspension of disbelief here, where
absolutely,
where this is the future, and if they've got things that can mutate people like that, then they might have things that can keep you from losing muscle mass.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. And I'm being real nitpicky here. On my I'm just trying to give an honest look for everybody, because we had been going for so long, and we hadn't run into anything, even close to being this good, I think, since Altered Carbon, maybe.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that.
So I just want to make sure that, everybody, knows that we're giving this like an honest, fair look, just like we are everything else. And we're not out to shit on, Netflix per se. It's just a challenge to Netflix to make shit better, man. And we did recognize that Godzilla Part 2 dropped yesterday. We just want to let everybody know that we're aware of that. So we got 10 minutes left, dude. Do we want to see if people want to pop in general voice chat, and
sure,
we can pull them in and talk about this movie?
Yeah. So if you want to hop in, just get in the waiting room and we'll pull you on.
We'll yank in. Get in general voice chat or the waiting room, and we'll yank you in. But yeah.
Now, what did you think of the the graphics and makeup in general?
I couldn't find anything wrong with it. I was really impressed. I thought that I think they balanced the budget perfectly with the effects and acting quality. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know what the budget was on this movie?
I have no idea.
Okay, so the budget on this movie was, it looks like $33 million.
Dude, for what movies are being made for nowadays, that's not bad.
It's not bad at all, but I believe that it only grossed, hold on, I'm going back to the actual page. Okay, so the budget was an estimated $33 million. It grossed $4.4 million its opening weekend, and $10 million in the end.
See,
yeah.
I'm blaming that on the fucking promotion.
I am too, because I don't even remember hearing about this when it was in theaters.
Me either. And that's it should have got worldwide distribution and a fair shake, man. There's no way that people don't walk away from this movie telling their friends to go see it. I don't see that happening. I'm just going to shoot straight about that shit. The movie was just fantastic, So I'm gonna. I see we have somebody waiting in the waiting room, and
I'll pull them in.
we're gonna pull them in, It is the one and only JoJo, also known
What
as
up,
Jacob
JoJo?
Navo. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I thought this movie was really good.
Oh yeah, why'd you think that?
Well, I mean, it's a haunted movie, a haunted house movie, a thriller, and a monster film all in one.
And a suspense film.
Yep.
Right, and a psychological thriller. I mean, it throws all these different action. I mean, shit, it throws a whole bunch of shit just in, and it does it so well, and it's horror and sci-fi. There's all these different combinations of genres, and it's really well done.
Yeah, not a lot of movies can do this well.
No, and
I would agree. Yeah.
That twist, the one where you find out that Dennis Quaid isn't who he thinks he is, was decent, but the big one to where they really are
Oh yeah.
felt like a Lovecraft moment.
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
exactly. You know, so it's like, oh my god, I'm insane. This movie
yeah,
has
pretty
made me
much.
crazy. Shit.
Well, and also at the end, you start to question, because think about it. Dennis Quaid is the only person in the main chamber, right?
Right.
And they get back to the main chamber relatively easy because now they have access to the bridge. So they all get access to the main room. They found a survivor, right? But then he goes to shoot that alien that comes, the mutant that comes through the wall, and there's no mutant there.
Right.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like I don't know whether it's dementia or something else, but where you think you see something.
So, who's really suffering from Pandorum?
Yeah.
Well, see, I think they both are at the end. I think that it was just starting to set in for Ben Foster's character.
Yeah.
Either that, or he was, creating more creatures than there were actually there. But the Vietnamese guy was really, real because, we didn't see him in any vicinity of any of the main characters that we wake up with.
That's true.
So.
Yeah, but I'm surprised this movie did not have Ben Foster going crazy at least once.
Yeah. He did.
Well, I think he did, because he shot that that mutant that wasn't there.
Well, I mean, every movie he's in, there'll be a scene where he just goes off the handle.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
And yeah.
Well, I think when you're like hauling ass, running from these things,
Oh
for your
yeah.
life, you don't have time for that. You're too busy trying to live, man.
And this movie felt like Event Horizon a little bit.
Yeah, there were echoes of that too. That was on the list of nods I had down there. Definitely.
Oh, you know what? Is Event Horizon on Netflix? Does anyone know that? One second.
You know what? It is.
Because that's a beautiful movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the director's cut is the real version.
Well, you know what they're doing though? They're doing a TV series for Sci-Fi based on the book that Event Horizon was taken from. And I think it's called Night Flyers is the name of it.
Yes, that's what it's called.
Yeah,
because they just released a trailer for it today.
Oh, really? Well, that's funny that we were just talking about that, isn't it? Well, JoJo, you want to give us your scores on this thing?
I'd give it a 6 out of 10 for a movie, but as a guilty pleasure, a 9.
There you go. All right. You got anything else you want to say before we say goodbye for this week, JoJo?
Oh, that new Cloverfield trailer just came out.
Are you talking about the Overlord?
Yes, that's gonna be a good action movie.
Yes, it looks like it's going to be fun, but it is not a Cloverfield movie. And I'll talk to y'all about that next time we get to a Cloverfield thing because they've gone out of their way to say that it's not one. So I don't know what's going on with that either. But anyway, yeah, I mean they could have, because of what happened in the last movie, it could very well be one. But thanks, JoJo. Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
having in, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right.
Talk to you later, JoJo.
All right. All right.
Irate.
I ejected myself. All right, dude. You want to go first?
Yeah. I give this film an 8.5. The acting, top tier. That was a 10 out of 10. They did a great job the entire time. The only thing that lowered my score was the actual monsters, I guess. Because in some scenes it was filmed in such a way where they looked almost fake.
Right.
Because of the style of filming, though, not necessarily the outfits or anything.
Right.
Just the way that it was, they look sort of sped up sometimes.
Yeah, they did. I know what you're saying. Right.
Yeah. So and that was the part where they lost 1.5 rating for me. So the whole movie gets an 8.5.
Well, damn. I had a ball with this film. It was it was a sweet little surprise for me. I had never seen it before. And I'd seen it on all these lists and stuff, and I said, well, I'll choose for myself. And to be honest, I tried to watch this like about a month ago when it was on Shudder, and I watched the first couple of minutes, and it just didn't grab me. And I said, fuck it. And then when you brought it up, I said, yeah, I'll give it another shot. And I'm fucking glad I did, because I'm going to give this thing even a better grade than you did, man. I'm going to give it about a solid 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, as an entire film, and entertainment wise, I'll give it a 9.5. And kind of a guilty pleasure too. I think it's one of those that's fun. It's a great popcorn movie. It it keeps you going, what the fuck? And I love stuff that does that. In clever ways. They really, really were clever. And that's the word that keeps popping up with me on this one. It was just really nicely done. It was a great. It was a breath of fresh air compared to the stuff that we had been looking at lately.
I would agree with that.
I'm really, really happy about that. And I guess it's almost, we need to, I guess, talk about what we're going to do next week is True Crime Week, man. We're already there.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. We're at True Crime Week. So next Thursday, we are going to be talking about the series known as Staircase, right? And this involves, of course, a true crime, and it's a series that's available. It's 10 episodes. Each one is around 42 minutes, 42 to 45 minutes, some an hour. But it's about this woman that they say was murdered, even though it looks like she fell down a flight of stairs, and it's just mysterious as the way she died. And there's some big questions as to the prosecution and to the way it was investigated and prosecuted. So it's getting a lot of good rating. I'll put it that way. But then again, it hasn't got the Irate and Big Fat Brian rating yet. So
exactly.
We're
gonna look at this and see exactly how good it is.
That's right. And if there's nothing else you got to say, my brother, I say we got another one in the bucket. Sorry about the audio issues, man. But hey, shit happens. I've been hearing stuff happen to a lot of people this week. So let's hope that everything gets fixed. All right, y'all have a good week, and we'll see you here next week.
Go watch Pandorum.
All right, this is Irate out.